Hey, raised beds are a great way to garden, and they look aesthetically pleasing. They help divide spaces up. I thought I would take this time and share with you some of our raised beds and how I do them. Hey everybody, welcome back to Grumpy Acres. Like I said, raised beds, they're a fantastic way to utilize your space. You can make them attractive. You can use all sorts of materials to make them. They can delineate different spaces. They can make gardening easier for you. The higher the raised bed, the less you have to bend over, which is fantastic as you get older. Trust me, I'm finding this out. But you can use all kinds of materials, and you can do whatever you want. Seriously, there's all kinds of options that you can do. You know, and a raised bed can be anything that from 6 inches deep to 4 foot. Seriously. So let's take a walk around and I'll show you some of the raised beds we've got, and I'll show you how I fill them up. So we're out here in front of the house, and this is the kitchen herb / medicinal garden. So as you can see, we've got a couple of different materials that we use for our raised beds. Here we've got one that's landscaping timbers, but I put those in basically to give an edge to the driveway, and I wanted to make sure that nobody backed in to the other raised beds. And these raised beds are just made out of metal panels from a shed and some wood posts, and then some planks that we got at an auction. Now as you can see, stuff's coming in great. Stuff is coming in great there. And then, you know, there's one. I don't know if you consider that a raised bed or not, but I just used what that is, that edging right there, that is the metal frame out of one of the old windows over there on the old part of the building. I've got a couple more that I'm going to put down, and they make great borders, and it's actually, when I filled that up, it was completely full up to the top, so I need to get in there and refill that and weed it after the winter. And then we'll come over here. So this is Gizmo's garden. This is where we buried Gizmo. And as you can see, I used some old hedge posts and just made a border. It's about 6 inches deep. I went and got some topsoil from the back of the property and put it in there, and then I put mulch in there, and I transplanted some stuff. I got some transplanted horseradish, and we think those are wild strawberries, but I transplanted them in here. And then I've got some, I think, red hyssop seeds in there. But there's another way you can build raised beds. Sorry about the shadow in there, folks. Man, look at the color on those redbud trees. Is that awesome? I may do a walk around and just show you guys all the blossoms that are out right now, because it's a huge change from the way things were last year. And then we come over here. We've got another raised bed made out of landscaping timbers, and you can see the comfrey that we planted last year is coming in, and we got some cherry tomatoes that are going to go up that trellis that I showed you. And come over here. This is a commercially bought strawberry bed, and as you can see, it raised up. We need to get in there and clean that out. It's finally getting there, but they overwintered in there. So, you know, you can go buy a commercial one too. And then we come over here. Let's go over in the chicken coop area. We got a couple of raised beds over there made out of a different material. So this is looking very, very, very rough right now. We need to get in here and get it marked off. But this is another raised bed that I made out of a multitude of cinder blocks that we had left over. And you can see the chickens have been in there using it as a dust bath, and the wormwood that we planted came back. Man, talk about some hardy stuff. That stuff, woo! I'm telling you, it'll survive. It'll be here after a nuclear war, I'll tell you that. And then let's go over to the newest one, the one that I'm building right now. So this is an old stock tank. This stock tank is about 10 years old. We had it at the old place, and it finally over the winter had holes rust in the bottom of it, and it will not hold water anymore. And I decided that I was not going to do metal stock tanks anymore, that I'm going to go to poly tanks because they last longer and they're easier to keep clean. This tank is going to get turned into a raised bed, and as you can see inside of it, I put a whole bunch of wood. Now anytime I build a bed, whether it's a raised bed or a brand new garden bed, what I always do is, if it's a garden bed, I dig a trench, or if it's a raised bed, I just put it in the bottom of the raised bed. I always put wood in there, and the reason why I put wood in there is because it does two things. Number one, it adds organic matter and it takes up space in the bottom of the bed, so you don't have to use as much soil, and it will decompose and it will add stuff to the soil. The second thing it does is, as it decomposes, it becomes more porous and it starts absorbing water, and it acts like a big giant sponge. So you put the wood in the bottom of it, and as I said, it will act as a big giant sponge. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I got to fill the bed up, and I'm going to use compost out of the compost pile. Got around the edges of the pile where the stuff that's decomposed the most has fallen, and I got this Gorilla cart full of it, so I'm going to go ahead and fill the tank up right now. Now I want to get in there and I want to get it beat down and shaken down so that all that dirt and stuff falls down into the cracks in that wood, because we want to fill it up completely. We do not want any air voids in there. Now as you're filling this bed up, this is a good time to add amendments to it if you need to. And you don't have to use compost. I'm using compost because it's readily available and it's free. You can use fill dirt, topsoil, whatever. Add amendments to the dirt at this time. Sawdust is a great way to add organic matter to your soil. Play sand, go to a big box store, get a bag of play sand. If you've got a clay or a really compacted soil, go ahead and put sand in it. That will help make the water drain from it better. I think this right now we're gonna have really good drainage, because this is really there's a lot of air in it, and I've got holes in the bottom so it's not gonna fill the tub up. Now as you can see, I've got about 6-inch gap around there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over to the garden. I've got some topsoil that I scooped up from our zone 3. I'm gonna throw it in the cart. I'm gonna bring it over here, and I'm going to finish off and top off the bed. So there you have it. There's how we make our beds here at Grumpy Acres. This bed sits on the west side of the loafing shed where the goats and sheep are. So in the morning, it's about 9:30 in the morning right now. So right now it's in the shade, but as you can see, the sun's slowly creeping in there. It'll get a lot of sun during the day. So I'm thinking maybe a couple tomato plants. I don't know. We'll figure it out, and we'll get it done. I probably ought to make a video on how I made this one too. This is a great way to utilize old barrels if you got them. Yeah, maybe I'll do that one too. There you go. As you can see, I picked roots out of it, and I'm sure that there are wild grasses and plants in there, aka weeds, that I'll have to go through. I'll let this sit for 2 or 3 days before I plant anything in it, because it'll settle down, and I'll probably water it in the next couple of days. It's really wet right now because we had a hard rain yesterday, but I'll let it settle, and it'll go down, and then I'll top it off with some more topsoil. That's some really good rich forest topsoil. Well, there you go. Give me a big thumbs up if you liked it, like the idea. Give comments on how you do your raised beds, or if you got any suggestions. Go ahead, hit the notification bell, share, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Most importantly, go out and live a life done free. Take care. Thanks, Milo.